Hello there. In the last couple of videos, we have been discussing various aspects of time in context of special relativity like time dilation and how moving clocks appear to run slower. We also explained in details the ideas of proper time and coordinate time, when and why they are different, etc. So now it is time to address the most popular issue that is something of a conundrum relating to time in relativity, namely the twin paradox. There are timestamps given in the video, so jump ahead if you already know the basic narrative of the twin paradox. So this is the story of a guy who has been on a round trip to a distant planet and upon his return to Earth finds his stay-at-Earth identical twin brother much older than himself. Okay, surely this is just time dilation effect causing moving clock on board the spaceship and also the biological clock of the space traveler twin to run slower than clocks on Earth. So his earthbound twin brother grew older comparatively faster. What is the big deal here? The big deal here is that from the perspective of the space traveler twin, his earthbound brother along with the planet Earth itself have moved away and came back to him. So he claims that clocks on Earth are the moving ones and should have run slower. So at the reunion, he should be the older guy. We can't have both older than the other, obviously, so there lies the paradox. So what is really going on here? Well, the usual answer is to return to Earth, the space traveler have to turn his spaceship, which means change of direction of velocity. So he is a non-inertial observer and should not apply time dilation effect from his frame. The earthbound guy remains an inertial observer throughout, so his calculation is fine and therefore the stay-at-Earth twin is the older one. Well, this kind of settles the age debate but leaves a few questions unanswered. For example, why does the non-inertial motion make the space traveler age less? What if the spaceship turns very quickly so that the acceleration is only short-lived and most of the space travel is in uniform motion as an inertial observer? And finally, is the twin paradox just a consequence of time dilation or something else is at play here? In this video, we shall answer these questions.
Good luck.
Before we start analyzing, let me point out some petty issues that are usually ignored in the story.
I have a few start-of-term notices I wish to announce.
First, Earth and the distant planet are circulating their stars because of gravitational interaction, so they are not inertial in an honest-to-God way, at least by the standards of Newtonian mechanics or special relativity. But twin paradox has not much to do with gravity, at least the setup of the story itself doesn't. So we set our narrative in a hypothetical universe without gravity where Earth and the other planet are inertial bodies. Moreover, we keep the two planets at rest with respect to each other so that both are in the same inertial frame. This simplifies drawing space-time diagram for the twin paradox story immensely, and in fact this is secretly done in all demonstrations of twin paradox that you can find on the internet.
It's a complete secret.
Next is, we do not really need twin brothers or even blood brothers for the twin paradox story to work. Any two people will do. For that matter, we don't even need to compare the ages at all. Just comparing the readings of two identical clocks, one on Earth, one in the spaceship, is all we need. The brotherhood brought into the story is just to create a catchy climax, if you know what I mean. So let us point out the bare bones of the twin paradox story. Take two identical clocks synchronized at the start of the journey denoted by event E1. One clock goes in the spaceship and the other stays on Earth. Because of the relative motion between Earth and the spaceship, these clocks run at different rates and go out of synchronization during the journey. The spaceship's return to Earth is denoted by event E2. We note both the clock readings at E2 to compare the time duration of the journey measured in the Earth reference frame S0 and the spaceship reference frame S1. But this is actually a thought experiment, so we do not really have the spaceship clock to read at E2. So to compare, we need to calculate what the spaceship clock reading would be corresponding to the Earth clock reading at event E2.
Are you serious?
To do that, we consult the spacetime diagram drawn in the Earth frame S0 showing the world lines of both the clocks. The Earth clock is at rest in S0, so its world line is parallel to the time axis. Also parallel to it, slightly to the right, denoting the astronomical distance from Earth, is the world line of the destination planet, since it is also at rest in S0. The time interval in the Earth clock is a simple T2 minus T1. The spaceship clock, like the spaceship itself, starts with an acceleration, reaches a cruising speed, maintains that speed till it is close to the distant planet, then it decelerates and turns and then starts the return journey pretty much the same way. To calculate the time interval delta tau measured in the spaceship clock, we need to integrate as the motion involves several episodes of acceleration, deceleration and uniform motion. The expression we need has been derived and discussed in details in a previous video, link is in the I button as always. To do this integral, we need the velocity of the spaceship, that is just the slope of its worldline at each point on its worldline. If you hate calculus, don't sweat it. We do not actually need to work out the integral here. Just note that the factor in the parenthesis is always a fraction, since velocity v is always less than c, the light speed, and thus the result of the integral, delta tau, denoting the spaceship clock interval, must be smaller than the Earth clock interval delta t.
Assuming that my calculations are correct, I believe.
Now the important question to ask here is, should the space traveler do what we have just done? That is, should he draw a space-time diagram in the spaceship frame and apply the time dilation formula? Well, if he does, he would get wrong results. We shall elaborate why in a bit, but first note that the two events E1 and E2 lie on the worldline of both test subjects. But two observers in different inertial frames have straight worldlines of different slopes, so they can cross each other only once and therefore can have only one common event. So, by asking the space traveler to return to Earth to share both events E1 and E2 with the Earth guy, we have sabotaged his inertial status to begin with. Besides, when he starts off from Earth in his spaceship, he accelerates, so he is a non-inertial observer from the very outset. So let us modify the narrative of the twin paradox story slightly to make the deal as fair as possible for the space traveler.
Oh, and about time too.
Let us have Earth and the distant planet in inertial frame S0 as earlier. We then have a spaceship with people on board moving at a constant velocity with respect to this S0 frame in such a direction that it crosses first our Earth, then the distant planet, and moves beyond. So this spaceship's rest frame is another inertial frame. Let's call it S1. The spaceship crossing our Earth is event E1, and we choose one passenger on board the spaceship and one guy living on Earth such that they have the exact same age at event E1. These two people are the test subjects as well as the observers of our thought experiment. The spaceship going past the distant planet is event E3. At event E3, the test subject on board the spaceship jumps onto a second spaceship that is coming from the exact opposite direction with the exact same speed and crossing that distant planet also at event E3. The space traveler crosses Earth at event E2 in this second spaceship and continues his journey beyond. The rest frame of this second spaceship is yet another inertial frame, let's call it S2. In this version of the story, not only the Earth test subject is in an inertial frame S0, but the space traveler test subject is also almost always in an inertial frame, either in S1 or in S2, except for the instant when he switches ship at the event E3. Thanks to this switch at E3, in this modified story also, the test subjects are physically present at the starting event E1 when they are of the same age and terminal event E2 when their age is finally to be compared. Also because of this switch, now both test subjects can apply time dilation formula from their respective inertial frames. But since there has been a change of inertial frame for the space traveler, the analysis has to be in two parts. First part, when the space traveler ages by tau m minus tau 1 according to S1 frame clock, and the second part when he ages by tau 2 minus tau m according to S2 frame clock. We also need to find where the earthbound test subject is on his own worldline when the switch happens, that is, which event point on Earth test subject's worldline is simultaneous to E3. But S0, S1 and S2 being different inertial frames will have different answers to this question of simultaneity. If you have watched my earlier videos, you would know this. If not, be my guest, the link is in the I button. So there lies the crux of the twin paradox. Disagreement on the matter of simultaneity. It is not just time dilation. Let's see the Earth test subject's point of view, that is S0 frame's point of view first. We know that for any frame, its space axis is a collection of all simultaneous events at some instant, and lines parallel to it represent similar collection of simultaneous events at other time instants. So according to S0 frame, the earthbound test subject is at event E4 when the switch happens at E3. He reads the Earth clock at the start of the experiment at event E1 and gets the reading T1, then at E4 and gets the reading Tm, and finally at E2 and gets the reading T2. At the starting event E1, his age is identical to the space traveler. In the first leg of the journey, the space traveler is in inertial frame S1 and moves away from Earth with speed v from event E1 to E3. So the time interval read by S1 frame clock tau m minus tau 1 and that read by S0 frame clock Tm minus T1 is related by the Lorentz factor. This factor is solely determined by the magnitude of the relative velocity of S0 and S1 frame. This is just the time dilation formula applied from S0 for the event pair E1 and E3. Check the video in the I button for more on time dilation effect. Anyway, in the return leg of the journey, the space traveler is in inertial frame S2 and approaches Earth with the same speed v, but from event E3 to E2 now, that is from the other direction. The corresponding time intervals read by S2 frame clock, that is tau 2 minus tau m, and that read by S0 frame clock, T2 minus Tm, is again related by the same Lorentz factor, since it only depends on the magnitude of the relative velocity, as we have said, but not its direction. Since the inverse of the Lorentz factor is always a fraction, so in both halves the S0 frame clock registers bigger time durations than S1 and S2 frame clocks. Thus, in the first half of the journey, the space traveler reached event E3 from E1 and aged by tau m minus tau 1, whereas the Earth test subject reached event E4 from E1 and aged by a bigger amount Tm minus T1. Similarly, in the second half, the space traveler reached event E2 from E3 and aged by tau 2 minus tau m, whereas the Earth test subject reached event E2 from E4 and again aged by a bigger amount T2 minus Tm. Remember that the Earth test subject is in a single inertial frame S0 in both the halves, so he can add the two time durations Tm minus T1 and T2 minus Tm to calculate how much he has aged in total, and the time dilation relation for the two halves will tell him that the space traveler has aged less. So, the test subject on Earth is indeed older at the terminal event E2, at least from the S0 frame, that is Earth's rest frame perspective. But what about the space traveler's perspective? We can't ignore that totally, especially now that he is also an inertial observer, although in two different frames S1 and S2 during the two halves of the journey. With Earth test subject, he shares event E1 as S1 frame observer and event E2 as S2 frame observer. By share, we mean being physically present together, that is world line crossing. But event E3, when he switches from S1 to S2 frame, is not a shared event. That is, Earthbound guy is not at E3 but at somewhere else on his own world line. According to S0, the event simultaneous to E3 is E4, as we have seen. But as an observer in S1 frame, the space traveler will disagree. To find the event he perceives as simultaneous with E3, we need to draw the space and time axis of S1 frame at E3. Because remember, space axis of S1 frame drawn at E3 will indicate all events that look simultaneous to E3 according to S1 frame observer. So let's figure out how to draw the space and time axis of S1 frame on the space-time diagram that we have been drawing as S0 frame observers. Time axis of S1 frame is easy, it is just the world line of the first spaceship itself. If you have seen our video on space-time diagram, you would know this. Now, the angle between the time axis of S0 and S1 is the same as the angle between the space axis of S0 and S1. Why this is so has to do with the visual representation of Lorentz transformation in a space-time diagram, which we shall cover in a future video, so keep a tab on the channel, but for now let us just draw the space axis of S1 frame. A line parallel to it drawn at E3 intersects the Earth test subject's world line at E4 prime. So when the space traveler applies the time dilation formula for the first half of the journey, he is calculating how much the Earth test subject has aged between events E1 and E4 prime, not between E1 and E4. The time read by the Earth clock at E4 prime is obviously not Tm but some lesser value Tm prime. The duration Tm prime minus T1 shown by the Earth clock between events E1 and E4 prime is indeed smaller than the duration tau m minus tau 1 read by the first spaceship clock between events E1 and E3. Moreover, it is smaller by the same Lorentz factor as earlier, since the relative speed of Earth and the first spaceship is still the same v. So the Earth guy ages less than the spaceship guy in the first half of the journey according to the time dilation calculation of the space traveler, because in his frame S1, a different event point E4 prime looks simultaneous to E3. Then the space traveler switches to the second spaceship at E3 and his sense of simultaneity changes instantaneously. Now it is according to the space and time axis of the S2 frame, which we can again draw by the same trick we used earlier. As S2 frame observer, the space traveler now perceives event E4 double prime as simultaneous to E3. If he applies the time dilation formula for the second half of the journey, his calculation will show how much the Earth test subject has aged between event E4 double prime and E2. The Earth clock interval T2 minus Tm double prime between events E4 double prime and E2 is again smaller than tau2 minus tau m read by S2 frame clock between events E3 and E2. Not surprisingly, by the same Lorentz factor, since the relative speed between S2 and S0 is also v. Like the first step, the duration T2 minus Tm double prime is also much smaller than T2 minus Tm, so there is no real conflict with the analysis of S0 frame. You see, although the space traveler has every right to apply the time dilation formula as inertial observer in S1 and S2 frames individually, but when he adds the two results, he misses a large chunk of the Earth test subject's world line, during which the Earth guy keeps aging. What he is doing wrong is to add observations made in two different frames, which is not really allowed in physics.
I strongly recommend caution.
The switch of the reference frame at E3 is instantaneous for the space traveler and changes his sense of simultaneity and shifts his focus from E4 prime on the Earth test subject's world line to E4 double prime instantly. This is the core reason why the space traveler is not the older guy, even if we consider his own point of view. Notice where and why we have modified the twin paradox story. We made the space traveler just go past the Earth, not take off and land on it, so that the initial acceleration and final deceleration can be avoided. And we made him switch the spaceship so that the full effect of his turning in space at E3 can be demonstrated by a momentary burst of acceleration and a single shift in his sense of simultaneity. Instead of this momentary acceleration, you can of course think of him in a single spaceship turning gradually in space, making the scenario more realistic as we have demonstrated early on in this video. But as I have discussed in my first video on time dilation, that kind of gradual acceleration means shifting through a series of different inertial frames, which means changing the sense of simultaneity over and over and over, and each time missing a small portion of the Earth test subject's world line as we have explained. These missing parts will add up to make the Earth guy the older person. This is why we said the spaceship twin would get wrong results if he tried to apply the time dilation formula from his accelerated frame. So that's it from my side on twin paradox. Hopefully it has made you less uneasy on the topic.
Something you wish to tell me?
Hit the comment section if you disagree with any of the arguments given here. Also let me know if you have found the video useful. Thanks for watching and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.
Off you go.